Everyone, this is Nita Marie here. Today I'm going to be talking about a very hot topic, Roe versus Wade overturn at the Supreme Court. Oh my God, what are we going to do? So please make sure to like and subscribe for my channel so you don't miss a beat. Welcome back to my channel. This is Nita Marie here, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss a beat. And today's topic is a very hot topic right now, Roe versus Wade overturned in the Supreme Court. Oh my gosh, so crazy, right? So if you're a man, you may not realize how much this really affects women. So if you're a man watching this, it may not have been that big of a deal to you, but let me just explain how it affects women. So 9 out of 10 times when a woman gets pregnant, that woman is the main caretaker of the child. So what's happening right now is that the women that don't want to be the caretakers of these children are being forced to now have babies. And so we know that, of course, with the Supreme Court overruling Roe versus Wade, it gives the states their own ability to determine whether or not abortion is going to be legal or not. However, what is really scary is that a lot of these states that don't want abortion also don't want welfare. So a lot of these states also don't want to support these unwanted kids that are going to grow up in poverty and are going to need food stamps, are going to need WIC, are going to need social services because they are in situations that they are being born into that is not ideal. And so it is a really scary time right now. And what is particularly scary is that a woman could be raped and be forced into having this child in a situation where they are not equipped to have this child. A lot of people that are against abortion are also against government funding of people in poverty. And so this is going to only increase the amount of people in poverty. This is going to increase the amount of single moms because most people who would want abortions are not married. They are having this child out of wedlock. The significant other is not supportive. Otherwise, they probably would not be as keen to having an abortion. The significant other probably will not be there for them financially. They will not be there for them emotionally. And sometimes they are also going to be having the child of an abuser. So if someone is forced into having a child of an abuser, then they are now putting themselves at risk by being pregnant with this person's child. Because if this person is already abusive to them, it's very possible they will be abusive to the child. And so now the child is being born into an abusive situation. I understand that there are reasons why people are against abortion. And I personally would never consider an abortion. I wanted my kids forever. I love kids. I knew I wanted to be a mom. But the reality is that motherhood is hard. It is hard even for me who wanted kids for 8 years. I wanted to have kids for 8 years and tried to have kids and wasn't able to get pregnant. And after 8 years was able to have my twins. If I didn't have a supportive family, if I didn't have the finances, if I didn't have, my parents to help me out, I don't know what I would have done being a working mom with twins, because nowadays, of course, we have to put our kids in daycare if we're working outside of the home, and daycare is astronomical. And so I would have been in a position where I wouldn't have been able to afford daycare, and then would have not been able to work as much because I was taking care of my kids. So that is what happens when a woman in general has kids, is they are now forced to juggle a job and raising their family. Okay, that's just the reality of any woman, regardless of whether or not they have a supportive family or a supportive husband. They are now in the middle of having to provide for themselves and their family and taking care of their kids. And there's plenty of stay-at-home moms out there, which are great, but nowadays it is becoming harder and harder to live on one income. So even with the most supportive husband, the most supportive family, living on one income nowadays is not that easy. And so it is hard to be a working mom. It is hard to have to work on top of taking care of your kids. But to throw in on top of that, the reality that someone having a child could have not wanted that child, it's going to make it so much harder. Those women are going to resent that child because it's going to make that woman feel like she was forced into a lifestyle that she didn't want. And it is all falling on the woman. You know, the man can easily walk away and pay child support, but a woman does not easily walk away from their child. And so it all falls on the child and the mom. And so it is not in the child's best interest to be born into these situations where they're going to automatically have challenges. Now, I'm not saying that challenges are bad, because we all have challenges, right? But it's different when you really wanted that challenge, you know, or at least you have support to help you raise this person that comes into your life. We have a lot of people in this world that are lonely, that are depressed, that have dealt with abuse, who have dealt with anxiety, who have dealt with not feeling loved. And all of these things, many of them come from how they were raised. And so if we're automatically putting more kids into the world that are going to be raised in situations where they were not initially wanted, it is going to force a lot of things that people are not going to react well to. And it's going to cause a lot more problems. Now, the other thing is people will say, well, you can adopt. So if you're going to get pregnant out of wedlock and you don't want to have the baby in whatever situation it is, there's plenty of parents out there that want to adopt. That's what, of course, the argument is. This is my opinion about it. My opinion about it is number one, a lot of times someone decides to get an abortion early on because even being pregnant could put them at risk. So for example, there are people that even just being pregnant could put them at risk physically. They could have health problems that put them at risk. They could have really terrible pregnancies that put them at risk. They could also, if they are in abusive situations, they are now in a situation that they're pregnant that puts them more vulnerable to that abuser. And that abuser could hurt or kill the baby because they're pregnant. And so a lot of times the people that are wanting abortions, just getting pregnant could put them at risk. The other thing that happens is that once you kind of start, once a child grows and they're inside of the mom, it is then harder for the mom to give up that child. So it's a good thing because then the mom bonds with the child, but it could be a bad thing because moms who originally didn't want to have a baby then can't give up the baby when it comes. And so then they choose not to give up the baby for adoption. And so then again, they're now in a position where they are needing to get themselves out of a financial situation. Many times is what it ends up being, is that these moms end up being financially unable to support themselves. And so that's where, again, welfare comes in, food stamps, WIC, all of those things, because they don't have the finances. Now, again, that would be an argument for, pro-life, is that, see, you would have never had this baby if you would have gotten the abortion, and look at how much this baby has changed your life, and, look at all the blessings that this baby has given you. And, that is a very strong argument for pro-life, because I know that there have been stories of people that thought about getting abortions, then they decided not to, and they absolutely do not regret their decision. They would not change their decision at all. The difference is that that's their choice. We are now forcing people to not have a choice. And I believe in education. I believe in educating moms, in giving them support so that if they wanted to have the child, they could have the child in a supportive environment, but not to shame someone if they end up getting an abortion. Because if they choose to not have the baby, and that was their choice, and they were educated about it, then that baby is better off than being with a mom who didn't actually want that child. I consider myself a very good mom. I wanted my children for 8 years. I consider myself a very good mom. However, there are some times that my patience is like totally tapped out, right? And I tend to be pretty patient. And there's times that I'm like, oh my God, I just went mental on my kids, and I didn't even have a filter. I just went mental, and I don't even know what happened. I just was like so upset. And I know that's happened to probably almost every mom out there, right? However, if you internally did not want that child and you are forced to have that child, then all of those things that someone might be a little bit more patient about will be amplified if they didn't actually want the child to begin with. There will be the resentment, there will be the short fuse, there will be the accusations of, it's all your fault that I didn't get a chance to do X, Y, and Z. And it is going to create a lot of negative feelings between the mom and the child. And so, what is better, right? Like, what is better? I feel like, in my opinion, choice is always better. Free will is always better. And safety is always better. Because if a person is now forced to have a child and they are not going to be well physically because they're now having to have this child, then we are now putting moms at risk for the baby, right? And that's not fair either. And we also will have people going to get abortions illegally, which means they will not be regulated, which means they will not be safe. We're going to have more moms that were going to be moms that are now seen in hospitals because they almost bled out from a bad abortion. We are going to have families divided because of the abortion issue. We are going to have women unjustly arrested for being in a bad situation to start with, because most people who go get abortions are not in good situations. It's not like a mom wants to just randomly go get an abortion. Like, it is not internal. Once we get pregnant, it's not internal for us to just not want the baby. I mean, most women, when we get pregnant, there is automatically an attachment to that baby. And so usually, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, it is not easy for that person to get an abortion. And she has already thought about all of the reasons why she should get one versus not get one. And it is not an easy decision for most women. And so it's a decision that people usually come to because they're not in a good place to raise the child. And so I just really feel for women right now. Luckily, I'm in a place in my life that I will not be getting pregnant anytime soon, especially as I get older. And I'm in a stable place in my life. If it did happen, I, would be able to handle it. But you know what, even for the women that are in stable relationships, have stable careers, get postpartum depression. They are overworked, they are overtired, they are sleep deprived, they don't like the way their bodies look anymore, they don't have time to take care of themselves, they're exhausted. These are normal things that a mom feels, and to feel those things on top of the pressure of being in an abusive relationship, having the baby of your abuser, or also being broke. Just not having money. We're going to have kids that are just dropped off at the hospitals because people can't have the baby and they can't get an abortion. We are going to have, the Moses syndrome, where people are just dropping off their babies at their family's doorstep, being like, I can't do this anymore. And so I just want to encourage you all to really think about that with this very, very important thing that just happened in history. And as you're considering voting, as you're considering supporting the women around you, just know that a woman who chooses to get an abortion does not do that lightly. It is a difficult decision, and usually it's a painful decision. And she's already going through a hard time. She doesn't need to have a harder time with it being illegal or it being unsafe. So thanks for listening. Let me know what you think in the comments below.